Hey there, it's Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware here with, again, something new in the land of Android, specifically the OnePlus 9 and the OnePlus 9 Pro. These are new Snapdragon 888 powered flagships from OnePlus with some fancy camera chops courtesy of a collaboration with Hasselblad, and we're going to take you on a tour next. But first we have a little bit of unboxing to do. This is the OnePlus 9 series media kit adorned with Hasselblad branding on the front. Big red box here. Big presentation by the folks at OnePlus. Let's go ahead and lift this up. Tight fit, tight fit. All right, come on. You can do it. There we go. Took a little bit of elbow grease, but we got it. All right, so this is an interesting setup for a media kit for sure. Let me tell you what, Samsung, hey, if you're paying attention, this is the way you do a media kit. Let's pull this box off first so you can take a look at the box art inside. That's pretty cool. This is a shot from the Apollo 11 mission to the moon. And as you can see, Neil Armstrong here is adorned with a Hasselblad camera on his chest. So kind of cool. Really cool, actually. He's got a little notepad over here. Great stuff inside the press kit. Let's put this back front and center where you can see the goodies. All right, so what do we got here? Well, first, the OnePlus 9 Pro box. OnePlus 9 Pro 5G, both are 5G phones. This is the OnePlus 9 standard box. We'll get to those momentarily. OnePlus 9 series, your best shot is what that says right there. All right, cool. Let's put these back and show you what's in this drawer. Also a tight fit. A little bit more elbow grease there. Here we go. OnePlus Warp Charge 50 wireless charger. This will allow 50-watt wireless warp charging for the OnePlus 9 Pro. That is going to be nice. Serious upgrade in wireless charging for sure. I don't even think any other phone manufacturer is up to the level of OnePlus in terms of fast wireless charging, and this is great accessory for sure for the OnePlus 9 Pro. The OnePlus 9 only supports 15-watt wireless key charging, but the Pro, well, you get the Pro features and there's a charger to go with it. All right, what else we got here? This looks like a OnePlus 9 sandstone bumper case. Sandstone black. Here we've got what looks like a OnePlus 9 Pro carbon bumper case. Carbon with a K. Carbon black bumper case. As you can see, nice carbon fiber hatch design there as well. Cool stuff. All right, let's unbox the OnePlus 9 5G standard phone first, and then we'll get to the Big Daddy flagship. This is the OnePlus 9. Little never settle action there on the inside of the box. That fresh plastic protective wrapping. Get that off. A little bit of dust bunny action there. All right, this is the OnePlus 9 in Astral Black. This would be Astral Black. A little glossy. Looks pretty good in terms of fingerprint resistance. So there you go. That is the OnePlus 9. What else we got in the box? Pull up here. And this is the OnePlus 9's 65-watt wired warp charger, USB-C cable, USB-C on both ends. That's something to take note of. And what else we got in here? Looks like just some lit. Yes. Let's see if it lives. We got charge? Come on, baby. Ah, yeah, there we go. So she's gonna wake up. That's the OnePlus 9 in Astral Black. And let's take a look at the OnePlus 9 Pro. The OnePlus 9 Pro 5G. Looks like a similar setup. Yes. It'll never settle on the inside. Here's the phone itself. Plastic protective wrap. Beautiful, beautiful silver blue finish here. Silver blue metallic, glossy glass back. Hasselblad going on the camera array, just like the OnePlus 9. Quad camera array here. We'll get to that shortly. Color is called Morning Mist. I do dig the Morning Mist, let me tell you. That's a good looking phone. I'll flip her on as well. Come on. Wakey, wakey. Yeah, there you go. Pull this just to make sure we're dealing with the same accoutrements inside the box. Yes, more literature. I think maybe is there a SIM extractor tool? Yes. SIM extractor tool, of course, that was in the other box as well. Quick start guide, all that good stuff, warranty card. And yeah, also a 65 watt wired USB-C charger here. Warp charge, 65 watts. That is gonna top off mighty quick. All right, so that's the unboxing. Let's get to the phones. Taking a look now at the OnePlus 9, we have a 6.55-inch 1080p 120 Hz adaptive refresh rate AMOLED display. Gorgeous saturation, great brightness and contrast, 1100 nits of brightness, HDR10 Plus certified. Perhaps not quite as bright in daylight settings as the OnePlus 9 Pro, but definitely like this display design. Gorgeous display with a flat edge versus the OnePlus 9 Pro's waterfall design. On the back side here, we're treated to an all-glass affair with a curved design that actually cradles nicely in the hand. It's very comfortable. This is Astral Black. It's a super high-gloss black finish. I'd prefer matte, I think, because you do have a fair bit of exposure and debris and dust buildup on the back. Not so bad with fingerprints, but you do see dust quite a bit, as you can see here. Winter Mist and Arctic Sky are also color options for the OnePlus 9 series. On the right edge of the OnePlus 9, we have the company's standard layout of its power screen lock button and its signature slider switch for silent, vibrate, and ring modes, which we think might be a great feature for other manufacturers to consider as well. On bottom, we have a speaker port, a USB-C sync and charge port, and the SIM tray. And on the left edge, we have that volume rocker, which is, again, typical placement for OnePlus. We should also note with the OnePlus 9 that it is not completely an all-glass design. The company used a fiberglass reinforced polymer midframe with a newly developed metallization process that gives the frame a glossier look than is possible than on a metallic frame. You can decide for yourself whether or not that's a good thing. And finally, let's talk that Hasselblad branded triple camera array of the OnePlus 9. The main camera is driven by a Sony IMX689 sensor, 48 megapixel shooter with 12 megapixel resulting shots after binning, and an f1.8 aperture with electronic image stabilization, but no optical image stabilization, which is surprising. This is going to result in slightly softer shots, especially in low light, which you will see in some of our performance results shortly. Also back here is an ultra-wide camera driven by Sony's IMX766 sensor. It's a 50 megapixel shooter with f2.2 aperture and a freeform lens. You also get a monochrome 2 megapixel camera back here and dual LED flash. Shot modes for the OnePlus 9 are pretty standard fare. You get nightscape, portrait mode, smart scene recognition, auto HDR, all that good stuff, including a pro mode that allows you to shoot in RAW. You also have up to 8K 30 FPS video shooting and 4K 60 as well. Super slow mode and time-lapse mode, all the bells and whistles are here. And in the top left corner of the OnePlus 9's display, we have its selfie camera. It's a 16 megapixel shooter with f2.4 aperture, fixed focus with electronic image stabilization. And also up top here in the center, we have the earpiece speaker as well, which doubles with the bottom firing speaker for stereo sound. And by the way, those stereo speakers put out some pretty good volume with good spatialization and good high-end and mid-range response, but lacking some low-end, as you might expect in a handset speaker system. But overall, very serviceable for the OnePlus 9. Now, shifting gears to the OnePlus 9 Pro, we have a 6.7-inch QHD Plus AMOLED display with a native resolution of 3216 by 1440. It's also an adaptive refresh rate display that goes up to 120 Hertz as well, and it's an LTPO display, which is a very technical term, low temperature polycrystalline oxide to be exact. It is a special backplane technology that actually should result in a little bit better power consumption, a little bit more efficient display. With 1300 nits of retina searing brightness, it's actually DisplayMate A+ certified, as is the OnePlus 9, but it is also a brighter display for sure. 10-bit color depth, by the way, HDR 10+ certified as well, but in daylight conditions, definitely offers a little bit more pop than the OnePlus 9. Not that the OnePlus 9 is actually a dim display by any stretch, it's just that the OnePlus 9 Pro has that much more. However, we should note that this is a waterfall display design with slightly curved edges, something to be aware of. We won't belabor the walk around too much because the OnePlus 9 Pro shares an identical layout in terms of buttons and controls to the OnePlus 9. You have that left-mounted volume rocker, right-mounted power screen lock button with silent vibrate ring slider, bottom mounted USB-C sync and charge port with the stereo speaker down the bottom, as well as the top firing earpiece speaker and the corner mounted front facing selfie camera. That's a 16 megapixel shooter with the same f/2.4 aperture and fixed focused with electronic image stabilization. The camera array on the OnePlus 9 Pro, however, is something a little bit more special. It's a Sony IMX789 that's driving the main 48 megapixel shooter. It has optical and electronic image stabilization, thankfully, and an f1.8 aperture lens. We should also note that in standard mode shooting, you do have quad pixel binning for resulting 12 megapixel shots. The OnePlus 9 Pro's ultra-wide camera is the same as the OnePlus 9, driven by that Sony IMX766 50 megapixel sensor with f/2.2 aperture and freeform lens. However, with the OnePlus 9 Pro, you also get a dedicated telephoto camera, an 8 megapixel shooter with f/2.4 aperture. That's good stuff for zooming in. Finally, you also get that 2 megapixel monochrome camera, dual LED flash, and all cameras are supported by phase detection autofocus, though the OnePlus 9 Pro also adds laser autofocus. Shot modes for the OnePlus 9 Pro are going to be pretty similar to the OnePlus 9, however, you do get up to 30x zoom with that dedicated telephoto camera on the OnePlus 9 Pro, whereas you're limited to only 10x on the OnePlus 9 Standard. I'm not sure that's much of a differentiator. What's really going to be the differentiator in different shooting modes with the OnePlus 9 Pro is its optical image stabilization, where the OnePlus 9 sadly lacks. In terms of relative size, the OnePlus 9 Pro is a few millimeters shorter than its OnePlus 8 Pro predecessor, and it's ever so slightly narrower as well. The OnePlus 9 Standard is a few millimeters shorter than the OnePlus 9 Pro, but both phones are very efficient in terms of overall size and ergonomics. We should also note that both phones are powered by Qualcomm's latest and greatest Snapdragon 888 mobile platform processor that offers a nice lift in both CPU and GPU performance for graphics and gaming, backed up by 8 or 12 gig of LPDDR5 memory and 128 or 256 gig UFS 3.1 storage versions available as well. Also driving the phones is Android 11, or should I say Oxygen 11, which is OnePlus's lightly skinned version of Android 11. It's an excellent lightweight skin, hasn't changed much since the previous gen, but that's a good thing because it just gets out of the way and gets it done. And finally, with all of that out of the way, let's talk performance and start with camera performance. Here you can see in what I would call an intricate mixed lighting shot where you have outdoor lighting and interior lighting illuminating the scene and a very detailed figurine in the foreground. Here you can see the OnePlus 9 captures good detail, a little bit softer all around, however, when you compare it to the OnePlus 9 Pro. A little bit better detail here, a little bit more crispness all around, good color balance and capture between both phones, however. In other areas like nightscape shooting, the OnePlus 9 Pro reigns supreme, certainly with its optical image stabilization versus the OnePlus 9 where it doesn't have that on board. You can see better detail, less noise, a crisper shot all around. Same thing in macro shots. Again, the OnePlus 9 Pro just capturing much more detail with less noise. And finally, in telephoto shots, it's like night and day. The OnePlus 9 Pro is a much better camera overall with its dedicated telephoto lens. Moving to portrait mode shooting, you can see both phones perform similarly with good background bokeh blur effect and separation of the foreground subject that remains in focus and crisp. However, I would give the nod slightly to the OnePlus 9 Pro for better color capture and overall scene quality. And we should also note that the Hasselblad collaboration for OnePlus on this series of phones was more focused on color tuning and sensor calibration for this series versus hardware effort, though OnePlus does plan to expand on that relationship in the future, and it could result in hardware innovation as well. Good boy, good boy. Come on, come on, come on, come on. And in terms of performance in the benchmarks, the OnePlus 9 and OnePlus 9 Pro both perform near the top of the pack of all Android phones that we've tested to date, and do slide in just ahead of the Samsung Galaxy S21 and occasionally just behind the Asus ROG Phone 5 in its powerful X mode setting for gaming. But really, the OnePlus 9 and OnePlus 9 Pro are powerful phones that will serve you well for sure in terms of any workload you might throw at a smartphone. However, we should note that we did observe thermal throttling over extended heavy-duty gaming workloads, specifically in the 3D Mark Wildlife stress test that runs multiple loops of the benchmark over a 20-minute period, stressing the phones. And it turned out at around the 11-minute mark, the OnePlus 9 and OnePlus 9 Pro started to bleed off some of their performance. However, it was less pronounced and more gradual, and it lasted a little bit longer than Samsung's Galaxy S21 series, for example, but not quite up to the level of extended performance that you might see in a true gaming phone like the Asus ROG Phone 5. In terms of battery life performance, both phones are still in testing, but so far so good. At their 120 Hz display refresh settings, we are seeing well in excess of 10 hours of always on, always active uptime in our PC Mark for Android battery tests. So we expect good things overall in battery life. They should be competent and competitive. At an entry-level price of $729 USD, the OnePlus 9 Standard with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage certainly faces stiff competition versus the likes of Samsung's Galaxy S21, for example, that has been seen retailing at around $699 recently. However, when you consider the OnePlus 9 Pro at an entry-level price of $969, though it is a tall price to pay for sure, with 8 gigs of RAM and 128 gigs of storage, it also checks off a lot of boxes, including a gorgeous display, a great camera setup, 50-watt wireless charging, 65-watt wired charging with a 65-watt brick in the box. Really delivers a lot of value for a premium ultra flagship phone for sure, and in fact feels like a Hot Hardware's editor's choice. But make sure you stop by hothardware.com for Miriam Joie's full review with lots more benchmark data, additional battery life data, and of course, gobs of camera samples. Hit thumbs up and subscribe if you would. We would really appreciate it. I'm Dave Altavilla for Hot Hardware with the OnePlus 9 and OnePlus 9 Pro. Thanks so much for stopping by.